Welcome everyone to my channel. If you haven't been here before, pull up a seat, sit down. We are going to talk about The Vampire Lestat by Anne Rice. Now, as you know, if you've been following along and watched my videos, you will know that I read The Interview with the Vampire all the way through, and I told myself, I told you to as well, I should have DNF'd it because I didn't necessarily enjoy reading Interview with the Vampire. I still like the movie. The movie's still really good. I have not seen the new season because I don't want to see the new season of The Vampire, Interview with the Vampire, the TV series. But yes, I have watched the movie. I've read the book. The book was not up to what I liked. Now, The Vampire Lestat is not up to what I thought it would be either. And with disappointing news, I'm going to have to tell you guys that I am DNFing this at 250 pages. Why? Repetition about a lot of stuff. Lestat laments and repeats things a hell of a lot more than he should, and it's getting in the way of me enjoying the story. Don't get me wrong, the story is really good. It is really good. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just not into the whole repetition thing, because, like, here's the back of it. Lestat, the vampire hero of Anne Rice's enthralling novel, is a creature of the darkest and richest imagination. Once an aristocrat in the heady days of pre-revolutionary France, now a rock star in the demonic, shimmering 1980s, he rushes through the centuries in search of others like him, seeking answers to the mystery of his eternal, terrifying existence. His is a mesmerizing story, passionate, complex, and thrilling. Now, it starts off with him, underground, talking about how he buried himself and was just sleeping away the centuries, and that music was waking him up, and how he came out of it and he wandered around learning everything he could about the New Orleans, and then him going along and making a pitch to this group that had woken him up about making a band, and it being him being the lead singer, right? And so it goes on to say more about what he's going to do for them, what he's going to show for them, and the last show he's going to have, and everything. He's got it all set up. He wants all this stuff done in a certain order. He's got a lawyer that he's found to do it for him. He's got money. He's got power and all the places that are correct and right. And so what he sits there and does is tells him, the Lestat, and then like, oh, the Vampire Lestat, like the Vampire Lestat from Interview with the Vampire. So he grabs it and he reads it, and then he decides he wants to write his own story about his own origins, because he doesn't like the way the Interview with the Vampire portrayed him. He was saying, Lestat, making me the devil is not the way to go. Tisk, 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 And then he goes back to where it all fucking began. And I don't understand. I really seriously don't understand the partings of it, because, like, he sits there and starts talking about, in, like, the first part, says the early education adventures of the Vampire Lestat, and then it says Leoloi Rising, right? That's part 1. And it talks about how he tried to run away from home twice, once through the music theater, and another time with, something or another. I don't remember what, but he tried running away a couple of times, and he was always brought back home. Failures on top of that. And he was a hunter for his family, so he fed them and everything like that. But he hated his life, because even though he was an aristocrat and everything, they had no money. They had nothing, and he didn't like that, and he thought he was deserved for more. But his family didn't believe in, artistry and music and theater being something. They all thought it was devilish and sinner like type of stuff, because you mostly can't get nowhere with that kind of lifestyle, at least they believe. Although his mother is apparently the one that kept bringing him back. He's got a blind father and 2 older brothers. He did have 7 siblings, but most of them died, and the 2 older brothers were the last ones of his brothers alive. And it talks about how he went hunting for some wolves that were terrorizing the village, and how a lot of shit went wrong. He lost guns, he lost weapons, he almost lost his life, he lost his 2 dogs that he brought with him that he raised from puppies, he lost the mare that had been gifted to him, and then he just wallows wallows after picking up 2 new pups that he had bred with the 2 mastiffs that he had, and he's just wallowing for a while, and he then talks about how his mother comes in, says something to him to kind of get him up and moving, and then they get a visitor, and the visitors are people who want to thank him for killing the wolves and all the meat that they got from it and all the fur they got from it, with a fur-lined cloak and a fur-lined boots. And that's when he met Nicholas. Nicholas was a merchant son who returned after going to Paris, and he'd been going to school, but he quit it to learn the violin with Mozart's, and he thought he could make a name for him. So Lestat and Nicholas were getting all together and just coming together as lovers and kindred souls that were being prevented from shit happening, talking about how they wanted to run away and escape and make lives of themselves. Lestat in the theater, and Nicholas as a violinist, and his mother comes to him and says, leave. Here's all the money I have from selling all my jewelry. Take it. Go to Paris with your lover, Nicholas. Find someone there who can write Italian. Have them dictate a letter in Italian. Send it to me. Let me know you arrived there and everything like that. And leave, because Nicholas's father is going to prevent him trying to leave. And so they do that. Now, what makes it weird, in my opinion, is that, okay, where it is that it's them being in Paris and having a good time, but he's feeling this presence that's around and around and around, and he doesn't understand it. He sees this person, he doesn't understand nothing, and then, you know, when they go to bed, it goes on to part 2, the legacy of Magnus. Now, the legacy of Magnus has nothing really to do with Magnus, because Magnus kidnaps him, drinks his blood, forces him to become a vampire, and then kills himself. Okay? And then it's just Lestat, left alone, with all of the dude's money, all the dude's property, and no information after being swiftly kidnapped from his bedroom. He did get Magnus's life story, but why is the legacy of Magnus's life just... He just sits there and says that he captured a vampire, drained the vampire's blood, turned himself into a vampire, and that was it. Nothing else out about it. And so Lestat's trying to figure out his way. He's helping out the theater troupe that he was a part of maintain themselves, give them gifts and luxuries, sending luxuries and gifts to his mother and to his lover Nicholas, who he doesn't want to meet no more because, you know, he's a vampire, and he doesn't want them to reject him because he no longer looks like a flesh human, you know, stone pallor and teeth and all that stuff. Although what he doesn't realize is that he can rise up sooner than the sun rises, as soon as the sun is setting, and that he can stay awake until long after the sun has started to rise. And so he doesn't know he can do that, and he doesn't understand it. He doesn't know nothing about nothing. And as he's walking around in Paris, he feels eyes on him, feels a presence, but he doesn't understand what that presence is. And things are a little awkward in that. He goes to go to the theater, does meet up with everybody because he wants people to stop questioning why he disappeared and everything. Because they think he married a rich person and the rich person dead, so now he's got a bunch of money. And then he ran away, you know. But of course, Nicholas obviously knows. He woke up, his window was smashed, and he was hearing Lestat call his name. In this, he tries to reassure everybody, and he gets pushed up on stage, and he frightens everybody there, and things get a little questionable. So he tries to disappear again out of their lives. After that, you go to like the next section, which is not the Children of Darkness, but the Vatican for the Vatican of the Marquise. So he does eventually find out that at the very end of part 2 that his mother has come to Paris to see him, and that the only reason why she hasn't passed on yet is because she wants to see him in the flesh. And of course Nicholas is there because Nicholas is also endeared to his mother, Gabriella. So when he does eventually meet his mother, somehow they talk without communicating. Like, he pushes images and information into her head, and of course he can read and hear her thoughts, and he wants to grant her immortality, and she agrees. So he drinks all her blood, rushes her out, and of course they escape, and they go back, and she transforms into a vampire. Now she's a little wild and rambunctious because she's never felt so good in her life and so free, and she doesn't understand why Lestat is so attached to the humans, because she's no longer human. She's like, leave it all behind. I don't care about your father, I don't care about your brothers. The only one I really cared about was you. I think that's like manipulation on a deep level. Which is sad to say. And they start having an affair. Like, I don't know if it's an affair, but they're talking about love and kissing each other and being together and all that lovely jazz. So then that's when they find out about the children of the Marquise, not the children of the darkness. They kidnap him, right? Because kidnap him and his mother, Gabriella, who now he doesn't refer to as his mother, but as Gabriella, and doesn't even reference that, besides the fact that, once raised him. And she's a lot more talkative, too, because she wasn't talkative at all. The children of the darkness are raised to believe by Armand that they don't deserve human food, human niceties, human clothing, bathing, anything besides luring people out into the darkness to drink their blood and kill them. And they can't go into churches, they can't wear crosses, they can't do nothing with holy water, and that if they do, they'll be burned, and that they work for Satan, for the devil, and to spread it. And you have to sit there and literally be buried in a coffin, alive, as you die, and then you have to bust your way out in order to prove that you are really truly one of the darkness. And Armand is the one who perpetuates this. And quite literally, he's the one who brought this coven together and made them all believe this shit. And I guess he believed it too. Anyway, because it's like all falling down because of you. When a crazy old lady is talking about how I told you this was going to happen. I told you we didn't have to do things this way. Because Lestat enjoyed human life. He bathed, he talked to people, he interacted with people, went out and saw shit, wore fine clothing. He did not understand why they would limit themselves to nothing. He doesn't care who he takes at the time when he first become a vampire, because to him it's just the way it is. But in the beginning of the movie, in the beginning of the book, he's talking about how he only goes after sinners, people who do evil things. So it's kind of trying to figure out everything, but through all the 250 pages, there's a lot of repeating back and forth about stuff, and I wasn't as enthralled as I wanted to be in it. So I DNF'd it. Of course, when I DNF'd it was after he turned Nicholas. Actually, he was trying to turn Nicholas into a vampire. And that he was going to go confront Armand again. So he did go in because he wanted to talk to Armand about everything that he didn't know. And he met a couple of the vampires that was in Armand's coven, and is like, oh yeah, he's killing us, and we just want to be free like you. Teach us how to be free. And he's like, just go out, bathe. The victim you kill, take their shit, wear their clothes, go be somebody. Quit hiding in the shadows. And then he goes to talk to Armand, and Armand's like, everything I did was for the darkness, for the children of darkness, take your gift, the dark, everything. But you ruined it all, you brought it all down, looking for you to come. Wait for you to ask the questions that only I can answer. So, he's like, you ruined my life. And I'm just like, I can't get into it. Okay. I read like one chapter one night and one chapter another night, and then nothing for one night, and then I just read like a bunch of it, trying to get through it because I was like, crap, I'm falling behind, but I don't really have no interest in picking up the book. I don't really want to read it. I mean, like, it didn't draw me in the way I was hoping it would, because it's about vampires. So I think I've learned that Anne Rice is not the author for me. Don't get me wrong, the movies are great. I love them. But the books, not so much. Too much repetition. Too much of the back. You know? And so, I do nothing. Okay? But here are some things. My favorite character out of it all would be no one. There was nobody I really felt attached to in any way that would make me feel good, because Gabriella is. I think if she was the one who was turned into a vampire before Lestat, she would have been in everybody and everything and not care about nobody. Lestat is weird. He's weird. I just can't explain it. And then Nicholas is just like jealous of everything that Lestat has, because he's just a merchant's son and Lestat's a marquis's son, you know? And there's society level difference between them, because, you know, society has its own, if you're on this end and if you're on that end, you know, there's a big gap between you and society. My most disliked character, I'd have to say, would be Armand. Simply because Armand's way of thinking is just like, if you're a vampire, you can't go out into society anymore. You have to be in the darkness. You have to be all creepy and bloodsucky and their nightmares and Satan-y and not get the good shit in life. Which Lestat obviously didn't care about. He's like, I'm gonna put fine clothes on me and wear fine jewelry and go to balls and dances and be part of the world while I chase down my victims and, you know, suck them dry. What stood out as memorable that I actually have tagged, because I thought it was like something that like pulled out to me, because it happened in the interview with the vampire, because Lestat was talking about some things that, Louise was talking about some things that Lestat had told him. And it was here, I believe, that he sits there and tells, because he was asked a question. He's like, my answer, I said softly, I was gathering my thoughts, and I could almost feel Gabrielle's warning, Nikki's fair. I'm no dealer in mysteries. I said, no lover of philosophy, but it's plain enough what has happened here. And I'm like, that's like, I remember reading that in an interview of a vampire, and I was just like, that hit me, like, oh, that's in the interview of a vampire. Like, there's some relation there, Or, I guess that would be my favorite quote. No, that stood out as memorable, yeah. That's what stood out as memorable within this, is that. I had to tag it. My favorite passage. I don't really think I have a favorite passage, to be honest. Because it's just a lot of random stuff going on in here. Yeah, so, and I don't really have a favorite quote either, because I just, they do a lot of philosophical, speakings about life, death, goodness, and evil, and I tell you now, I almost failed philosophy class in college, so I'm not a person, so it's kind of a little hard-headed to get into me what's going on. So, yeah, there's that. What I thought about the ending of the book, I don't know, because I didn't get that far. What book did it remind me of? Honestly, I don't know. No book, I guess. This book, as you know, is part of a series called The Vampire Chronicles, and there are a lot. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, there's like 12 of them. As far as when this book was purchased, there was 12 of them, because they're listed. You know, Interview with the Vampire Lestat, The Queen of the Damned, The Tale of the Body Thief, Menok the Devil, The Vampire Armad. There's actually probably more than that. Merrick, Blood and Gold, Blackwood Farm, Blood Cannons, Interview with the Vampire, Claudia Story, Prince Lestat. There's like a bunch of them. Yeah, there's a bunch in the Vampire Chronicles by Anne Rice. Now, I know I didn't finish it, and a lot of people don't think you should write something if you don't finish the book, but I'm going to rate it 2.5, simply because of the repetitiveness. I would think it would be much better of a read, and I probably would have finished it if it was reduced down to non-repetitive, because I did read somebody's review about how this is a book really about Lestat talking about something that happened about somebody else. Like, she said one time that it's a story within a story within a story within a story. And I'm just like, I don't really like that type of things. It needs to be a story. Maybe sometimes a story within a story is okay, but not 4 stories deep in a story, you know? It's not the way it is. Okay? So that's my rating for it. And I feel a little sad that I'm DNFing it, but that means I'm also DNFing the series. So that's 3 books off my bookshelf, because I'm not going to keep them. I didn't really care about the Vampire Lestat, the Interview with the Vampire, the book. So yeah, I'm going to DNF them and get rid of the books. Which you'll have seen a book on Haul Me doing that if you watch my channel. So, if you guys think I deserve a like, comment, or even your lovely subscription, why don't you go ahead and drop it down below. I will see you next illusion.